Hello, welcome to Library Connection. I'm Mandy Cantrell, Youth Services Director at the B.B. Comer Memorial Library here in Sylacauga. Before I get started, I want to thank TV47 for all they do to help us put on our program to let you know about things going on in the community as they relate to the library. Today, Earl Lewis has joined me. We're going to be talking about the Gantz Quarry Post Office, which has been moved to town several years.
It has been, I think, almost 20 years now that it's been moved to town.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you coming to talk about it. Now, the Gantz Quarry Post Office is behind or beside the kind of behind the museum and beside the high school.
Right.
Is that correct?
On the corner of Norton Avenue and 8th Street there.
Okay.
And, as you said, right behind the museum.
Right. And that's not its original location, I know.
No, it was obviously from the name. It was located at Gantz Quarry for many years. We think about 100 years. We don't have the exact opening and closing dates, but it was there and in use for approximately 100 years.
Oh my goodness! Now, was it just a post office for that community, or was it used for other things? It's not a large building.
No, it's not very big, and that's when you look at it, it makes you wonder. But
there it is.
It was, yeah. That's the way it looked when we adopted it. When the Sylacauga Historical Society decided to adopt it and do something with it, that's where it was sitting. And I tell people, when you look at it at that particular picture, that we got it from Mars when that Mars landing ship went up there and brought that back with it.
It does
look a lot like Mars.
But you know, because I'm from here, I know with all that there, I see the marble, I know it came from the quarry.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. But yeah, and of course that's a picture that we went through quite an ordeal and a very interesting project to get it moved from the quarry to its present location, and that's that's where it was turning off of Fort William onto Norton.
Right.
And the previous slide was where it was crossing 280. And we had to have a lot of cooperation. Con Equipment Company worked with us on that.
Yes.
Jimmy Steen's Record Service worked with us on it, and of course the City Electrical Department and the City Police had to help us. We had to raise some wires, and there you see Con's cranes in action, sitting it on the foundation, and police cars there who escorted us in with it. But it was quite a spectacle. And there's somebody standing in front of it there.
I recognize that man.
But that was a lot of fun and very interesting. And there's, of course, after we first set it down without doing anything, because we had to remove the roof and put those rafters back up there and start it over. And went through quite a transformation there over a several month period.
Oh yeah, I'm sure this was not an overnight project at all.
Not at all, not at all. In fact, it's still an ongoing project, to be honest about it.
Oh, it looks beautiful now, painted.
That's a really good picture when we had a fresh coat of white paint on it. And that is a picture, we were not sure a while ago, but that's a painting that Judy Hartsfield did of it, the way it looked when it sat at the quarry with that. A lot of the people that lived out there and worked out there remember that big oak tree in the front yard and so forth. So
that is beautiful. Goodness. And like we said, that is quite a job. So you had to get with Con Equipment, the city, the police, everybody.
Yeah, I had an awful lot of people, and I may be leaving somebody out. If I am, I apologize, but primarily the Con Equipment and the Jimmy Steen Record Service, Police Department, Electrical Department, and the Historical Society itself.
Yes.
And we had to raise a little money and got a grant or two. I think I'm right. I get the walking track and the quarry mixed up a little bit sometime, but we got a grant from the Beautification Council that was a part of the Lane Family Fund, and we got some help from that on it, and several other places, smaller amounts.
That's wonderful. It takes a whole group, and it takes money. It takes money to do that. Well, we were talking about it was not just used as a post office. It was some other things too.
Yeah, it's really interesting looking at the background. That little building, no larger than it is, and it was served as a doctor's office. It also served as a library. And the library was a branch of the B.B. Comer Library where your employment place of employment is.
Right.
And we found a sign just recently that has, I guess have you seen it already?
I don't
It's at
think
the
so.
library, but it says branch of the B.B. Comer Memorial Library, and it was hanging there. And we're going, with your help and Tracy Thomas's help, we'll decide whether to display it in our current library or put it on the building somewhere. So. But it was open as a library pretty much the whole time. I think it kind of had slowed down in the late years, but the doctor's office was an interesting thing too. There was a Dr. Miller and old Dr. Whetstone both worked out there some, and maybe some others that I don't know about. But those two were there. In fact, we've got some prescription, tongue-tied here, pads with Dr. Miller's name on it.
Wow.
And they were open on a schedule of some kind, but they weren't there every day. They were out there like maybe once a month or twice a month, and then at the beginning of the school year every year, I'm told that they gave shots to the kids back when we used to have to take shots before school started, and everybody really looked forward to that. You know, we were all excited to get to take those shots.
I know. I remember that. I remember that. Well, that is so neat. So it was a real vital part of that Gantz Quarry community.
Oh yeah, and we just kind of looked into that. Need to be sure to mention this. Linda Dixon some way found out that they were about to burn that building. It had been moved about 3 different times. Some of those shots we saw were where it had been last placed, and they had decided that it was in the way. It wasn't doing anybody any good. And they were going to burn it. And Linda Somaway, and I've forgotten exactly how she found out about it, but she found out about that, and through some of her friends and some of her connections, we got permission for us to take it over. And then I came in the picture then as the one that made most of the arrangements to get it moved, but Linda and I together are the two people that got that thing going, and real proud that we did, because there's so many historical things around Sylacauga that have not been restored or taken care of, and that's one that it's got a great history about it. And I think it's a great addition to our city that we need to improve the use of it. And some things that maybe we'll talk about it in a little bit later. But
we sure will.
But as far as it being there and people being able to see it, it's a great addition, I think.
Oh, it is. I think it is. It'll fit right in with the marble and everything when we talk about in the spring. And I know now it's been painted and it has some landscaping around it and a flag, I believe. There's an American flag there. Yeah, it is beautiful.
It is. It needs some work now, and it needs a new coat of paint for one thing, but there's some repair work. Most of the wood that's in the building is original. We had to do some replacement of some rotten wood when we moved it, but primarily it's original wood, and some of it has dry rotted to the point there are a couple of seals, floor seals that need to be replaced, and a little bit of the exterior siding too. But it's not in bad shape at all, but it's at the point that it will be in bad shape if we don't do something about it. And that brings around the point that we're going to have to do a little fundraising here soon to do some repair work on it.
Great. Well, we'll pause for a commercial break, and we'll be right back and talk some more with Coach Lewis.
Right.
Things a little bumpy in your driveway? Ox Foundation Solutions has the expertise and the know-how to repair cracks, wet basements and crawl spaces, and uneven floors in your home. Ox Foundation Solutions will come up with the right fix for you. It's time to get strong. How strong? Ox Strong. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Marble City Pharmacy in Sylacauga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our knowledgeable pharmacists are always available for questions about your medications or advice on taking over-the-counter products and supplements. Our friendly staff can assist you in choosing from our full lines of compression hose and medical equipment. And don't forget our gift department. We have a great selection of unique gifts for every occasion. Stop by and see us today. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Coosa Valley Medical Center, one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama, is also Sylacauga's largest employer. Services from the emergency room to surgery to cancer treatment to post-stroke care. You won't believe what's right in your backyard. It's Coosa Valley Medical Center in Sylacauga. So, if you're sick in Alabama, choose one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama. That is Coosa Valley Medical Center.
Welcome back to Library Connection. I'm talking with Earl Lewis from the Historical Society, and we're talking about the Gantz Quarry Post Office. I know you may not have had a chance to go in it, but you've probably seen it behind the museum and beside the high school. We just talked about the process of moving all of that and how the Historical Society and y'all kind of partnered with a lot of different people in town. So it's basically taken care of by the city or by the Historical Society?
By the Historical Society,
Historical
yes.
Society. Okay.
That's as far as who the ownership.
Right.
I guess the city of Sylacauga and the Historical Society together own it, but it's on city property. That's one of the things we had to do in the process of moving it, is get permission or sanction at least from the city and from the school board, even though the city actually owns that property, the school's on it, and so the museum is too. And I guess it's kind of the same situation as the museum. It's a city property, but it was handled by an organization within the city. But and you mentioned maybe some people who've seen it and never have had a chance to go in it.
Right.
And that's one thing we've been trying all the time, 20 years or so that's been there, is to figure out exactly how to use it. And you know, we don't have the funding to put someone there all day, every day to have it open to the public, but we have opened it on special occasion several times, and I hope that we'll be able to use it a little bit more as far as having it open to the public as time goes on. We got some planning going on about that, but we're not ready to announce anything about it, and probably won't be for a while, but we're working on that possibility anyway to have it open more.
Well, everything takes money and people, I know.
Right.
And you probably could use all of that.
We could use a lot of money and a lot of people. And that brings out another point, Mandy. We are unfortunately, our Historical Society has kind of been on a sabbatical or something. It hadn't been doing much for a few years now. And we're going to have a membership drive sometime this summer. We hadn't got all the details put together, but sometime probably in late June or July, we're going to try to have a membership drive and get ourselves reorganized a little better. And as I think I've already said, we're going to have a fundraiser because of the repair work that needs to be done. We have a little money in our treasury, but we're trying to hold on to some of it for a couple other projects we've got in mind too. So.
A lot of things going on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now, the Historical Society is not the same thing as the Historical Commission. But you work together on some things.
We try to. Linda Dixon and I have a very good working relationship. We worked together in the school system for several years when we were both over at East Highland, and I was the coach and she was the cheerleader sponsor, and we obviously were put together in some things. So we developed a friendship and a working relationship. So we worked together, and she's a chairman of the Historical Commission, and it is appointed by the city of Sylacauga. And she and I together do a lot of things, and in fact she's going to start working right away on getting the post office building on the state of Alabama Historical Register. Probably never get it on the U.S. Historical Register, but we probably can on the state. And she's going to work on that this coming year until they give grants and make some of those selections I think it's next spring when they'll do that again, and hopefully we can get that taken care of. But yeah, to answer your question more directly, the commission and the society are two different organizations. A lot of crossover, but still two different organizations.
How would someone join your group, the Historical Society?
Right now, if somebody really wanted to join today or tomorrow, they could call me if we could get something going. But probably if somebody's interested, the thing to do is wait till we have that membership drive in July or late June or July, and get people. We'll do a good job, or try to do a good job of publicizing that, and be sure that everybody has the opportunity. At one time, we had. I don't know exactly, probably a couple of hundred members at one time, paying members. Now we did, one of the reasons the organization's not doing much right now is we had a lot of those people that would send their dues in, but we didn't have that many that would work when we needed something done. And so
you need both of those. You need the dues, but you need...
We got to have that public or human participation, and hopefully we can get that revived again, get some new board members, some new officers, and so forth, and get it going.
Well, I hope so. That would be great. We are just, I mean, this is my hometown, and I'm just so grateful for people like you who take an interest in Sylacauga history and everything that's gone on in our area and try to preserve it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. We appreciate your program, because I watch it frequently, and there's a lot of things that are shown on your program that people wouldn't know about if it wasn't for the Library Connection, and we appreciate you doing that from the public side.
Well, at the library, we want to preserve things too. Actually, we were glad you brought the photo album by, and Samantha at the library scanned those, so we'll keep all those photos, the ones you showed, the ones we showed here, and then some more that are in the album. So now they're preserved.
That's good, and we added something to the collection just recently that you obviously haven't had a chance to look at, but a family from Montgomery, and a Ramsey family, and the two ladies that came, a gentleman and two ladies came and brought us some memorabilia from the old post office, and the two ladies were nieces of Mrs. Harris, who was the postmaster out there for years and years and years, as long as anybody could remember. And they brought us several signs and some stamping material that you stamped the envelopes with as they went through the mailing process, and a really nice collection, and it's going to be a good addition. We already have some things inside the building. I mentioned that we had those prescription pads from Dr. Miller, but we've got a block of post office boxes, and the window that the postal worker would work behind, we got it from Eufaula, but it's very similar to what was originally in the Quarry post office. But a friend of mine whose wife was from Eufaula found out about they were tearing the old post office down there. And a man named Mac Heaton, that a lot of people around here might remember, but I unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. But he went down there and got that block of boxes, brought them up here to us, no expense at all involved in it, and they're installed. And it looks very much like an old post office would have looked, very much like the Quarry post office would have looked. So we've got several things in there as far as memorabilia. And if anybody that sees this program would like to see the inside of the building, if this is not the best way to do it, but for right now it's all we can do, call me and I'll be glad to go down there and give them a short tour of the building and show them what's there, and kind of tell them what some of our plans for the future are.
Good. I'd love to do that one day. I'll have to give you a call sometime. That'll be great.
I'll be glad to do that.
Good. Well, we're going to pause for another commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Things a little bumpy in your driveway? Ox Foundation Solutions has the expertise and the know-how to repair cracks, wet basements and crawl spaces, and uneven floors in your home. Ox Foundation Solutions will come up with the right fix for you. It's time to get strong. How strong? Ox Strong. Get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Marble City Pharmacy in Sylacauga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our knowledgeable pharmacists are always available for questions about your medications or advice on taking over-the-counter products and supplements. Our friendly staff can assist you in choosing from our full lines of compression hose and medical equipment. And don't forget our gift department. We have a great selection of unique gifts for every occasion. Stop by and see us today. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Coosa Valley Medical Center, one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama, is also Sylacauga's largest employer. Services from the emergency room to surgery to cancer treatment to post-stroke care. You won't believe what's right in your backyard. It's Coosa Valley Medical Center in Sylacauga. So, if you're sick in Alabama, choose one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama. That is Coosa Valley Medical Center.
Welcome back to Library Connection. I'm talking with Earl Lewis from the Sylacauga Historical Society. We've been talking about fundraising maybe that y'all might need to be doing to make some more improvements to the post office and trying to get more people involved. You said you've got some of the original things that were in the post office, just a few, but I can imagine over 100 years a lot of those have been are gone.
Yeah, they are, unfortunately, while the
Right.
building was sitting out at the quarry not being used with it. In
Right.
fact, they used it for a junk house for a while.
Oh.
Just had a bunch of machinery and
Right.
tools and stuff in there. So they pretty much removed all the inside of the building. There's a few little things, just a shelf of work, I guess you'd call it a desk for people to address
Right.
envelopes on, that sort of thing. But we've got those post office boxes that I just mentioned, which I told Mandy during the break, if we didn't tell people they weren't original, they would think they are, because they're very similar to what was there originally, and they're dated. They're from probably the 30s originally, and so we have that. We have some photographs hanging on the wall, some that have a relationship to the quarry operation itself. But we got one of the old quarry school and one of the Baptist church. We've never been able to find a picture of the Methodist church that was out there. Shirley Williams, another former staff member at the library, has looked and looked, and I have, and some other people, and we just can't come up with a Methodist church. There was one there, but we can't come up with the photograph of it. But
I've heard Shirley talk about that. So if anybody has it out there, please get it to us, to me or you, or we can get it to you. Yeah,
we'll have a copy made. That's right. And you mentioned to me during the break that we need to talk a little bit about Miss Harris too. I never really knew Miss Harris personally. I did know who she was, and I've spoken to her a few times, but as far as really getting to know her, I didn't. But everybody that lived and worked at the quarry knew her, and she was a postmaster. She said she was not the postmistress, she was a postmaster, that she was nobody's mistress, but she was the post, and that's a direct quote from her family. But she had a son named Jimmy that's about my age, that we were in high school together, and Jimmy passed away several years ago, but that's as close a personal relationship I had with her. Wow. But she evidently was very, very popular with the people out there. Everybody speaks well of her, and she ran that operation for a long time.
That was quite a job too, I know.
Yeah, sure.
Because at one time, Gantz Quarry, I mean, no one lives there now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But at one time, it was a real thriving area.
Right. I don't remember what the population was, but it was several hundred that actually lived out there. Of course, they had a store or two nearby, and the post office, the churches, and the school. The school went through the 8th grade, I believe, and then they either went to Comer or Sylacauga from that point.
Now, you haven't lived out at the quarry, have you?
No,
Did you live?
I've lived in town. You mentioned to me that how did I become so interested? I'm not sure how I did. We moved here when I was 9 years old, and we had moved all over the country. My daddy was in construction work during World War II, and we moved every time it seemed like the weather changed. We were moving somewhere. They were building a new building or shipyard or something somewhere. So when I got here, I just kind of dropped anchor, I guess you'd say. I took up with the Sylacauga Aggie football team when I first moved here. When I was 9 years old, I started being an Aggie fan, and still am. And I don't know, there's something about Sylacauga just has always appealed to me, and we had some really interesting people that lived here, and I think the memories of them and some of the structures that are still here, and some of the customs and habits and so forth, it's just important to maintain those to me.
Well, I am so glad that you write them down. I read your article, your sports article in the Sylacauga Today. That's always so fun, because now it's my era too that you're writing about history when I was in high school. So I enjoy that, and years prior to that and more current years. That's interesting.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I'm glad to know somebody reads it. So. My daughter-in-law kind of upstaged me in the paper now. She started putting those recipes in there, and Earl Lewis, in case some of the listening audience or what viewing audience don't know her, but I have more people tell me they're reading my daughter-in-law's recipes than I do the ones reading my columns, so I got to do better.
Well, I guess you can tell Shamel, I'm not much of a cook, so I do look at her articles, but I enjoy reading yours, every word.
Well, thank you.
Shamel does a great job too.
Yes, she does.
That's wonderful. And like I said, I'm so glad that there are people like you who want to preserve that, because in years from now, there won't be anybody that knows those stories.
Yeah, I hope some other younger people will get interested in Sylacauga history, because during my lifetime we've lost Ms. Luttrell, who was the historian of this city, and Mr. Marion Thurman, who was right behind her, and some others. But it seemed like we went through one period, Mandy, here where we weren't concerned at all with the history of the town.
Really,
and
yes.
The urban renewal project was a step forward and a step in the right direction, but I wish they'd been a little more selective in leaving a few of the buildings here, because we lost a lot of history while we were going forward. We still lost a lot of history during that project that improved the downtown section greatly, but again, we just lost a few things at the same time we were gaining. So.
Well, there should be a place for all of it, and if you work hard enough with enough people, enough partners to preserve what you have, but there is room to make things newer and better sometimes.
Exactly.
But it's nice to preserve. And I know, like we said, you're looking for new members to the Historical Society. Going to have a fundraising and maybe a membership drive during the summer.
Yeah, right.
That would be great.
That's our plan right now.
And it needs to be people your age and people very young too.
We need those young ones. What we really need. This doesn't have anything to do with the Quarry accident, but I'm writing a book about Coach Tom Calvin, and I'm glad to get that out in public. A lot of people already know it, and that's kind of occupied my time. But we're trying to move forward with the Historical Society at the same time I'm doing that, because that's a preservation project too, because Coach Calvin was here so long and established such a record here that he's somebody we need to remember too. So
and Miss Calvin too, I know.
Well, yeah, it'll actually, she's helping me put it together. I'll put it that way. People know more. Hopefully they'll have it ready to go to the printers sometime about the middle of June and get it on the market by July, hopefully, maybe before.
Right. Well, we're almost out of time, but you're a very busy man. You've already written a book with a couple of other people about the history of Sylacauga, and we have that available at the library. And I've read it. It's great. I learned a lot of things. I've lived here my whole life, so I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It was fun to do. It was hard work. It took us 2.5 years to do that, but it was fun.
Well, we just appreciate all your work, and thank you for being on today and sharing about the Gantz Quarry Post Office. If you haven't seen it, it's behind the museum beside the high school on the corner there. Go by and look at it. If you'd like to come inside, give us a call, and we can get you in touch with Coach Lewis, and you can take a little tour. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Mandy. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for what you do for the community too.
And thank you for joining us on Library Connection.